Hey, is this working? I can never tell. Can you guys hear me out there? Kind of. I'll just talk really loud. I think I can do that.
There you go.
There we go. Today is April 21st. It is 4 p.m. We can go ahead and get a call to order and a roll call. Madam Clerk?
Mayor Shirley?
Here.
Commissioner Blanchard?
Here.
Commissioner Crawford?
Here.
Commissioner Hardy?
Here.
Commissioner Householder?
Here.
If everyone that's able can rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We do have an award and proclamation today.
The day of April 25th, 2014, as Arbor Day in the city of Salina, Jerry Holtz, Tree Advisory Board Chairman, will read the proclamation.
Mr. Holtz.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, Jerry Holtz. I live at 169 Bel Air Drive here in Salina. On my third or fourth year coming here doing this. Arbor Day proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperatures, clean the air, produce oxygen, provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, give us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property value, enhance the economic vitality of the business area, and beautify the community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Whereas in Salina has been recognized as a tree city by the USA National Arbor Day Foundation and desires continue its tree planting practices. Now therefore I, Barb B. Shirley, Mayor of the City of Salina, do hereby proclaim April 25th, 1914 as Arbor Day in the City of Salina, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Date is 21st day of April 2014.
Do you have any events planned?
Yes, we do. I believe you might have an agenda, and we've had to make a change on that.
Okay.
Originally, we were set to plant a tree in Lakewood Park on the 25th. Due to a conflict with the school, Lakewood School, because they're going to send a class over to help us plant that tree. It'll be done on Thursday, the 24th. It'll be 11 a.m. We'll be planting an apple tree in the area of the northwest corner of Lakewood Park. Lakewood Middle School will be sending a class over to assist in the planting. It's something we do every year. It's a fun thing for these kids. I invite the mayor and all the commissioners and all the citizens in Salina to come out and enjoy the day with us. It's a fun time. Dig the hole, plant a tree. Each kid gets to put in a little bit of dirt into the hole.
What time is the event?
11:15.
11:15, okay. Yeah. Do you have any other events planned?
That's all I have.
All right, wonderful. And I have your signed proclamation right here.
Okay. Right.
How do the rest of the apple trees coming along out there? Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
We'll move along to citizen forums. This is an opportunity for anyone to come up and speak regarding an item that's not on today's agenda. Seeing nobody here for citizen comments. We have no public hearings or items scheduled for a certain time, so we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Item 6.1, approve the minutes of April 14, 2014. Item 6.2, authorize staff to submit an application on behalf of eligible local agencies for the 2014-2015 Kansas Emergency Solutions Grant Program. 6.3, Resolution Number 14-7090, authorizing the name change of the Human Relations Department to the Community Relations Department. 6.4, acceptance of the offered sidewalk easement for River Trail Addition, Lot 23, Block 4. 6.5, consider acceptance of public utility easement dedications from RD LLC and Assurance Partners LLC. 6.6, Resolution Number 14-7093, authorizing the city manager to renew an agreement for workers' compensation third-party administrator services with CCMSI Incorporated. 6.7, Resolution Number 14-7094, authorizing the city manager to instruct binding of coverage for excess workers' compensation with Midwest Employers Casualty Company. 6.8, authorize the city manager to approve the purchase of signal poles, mast arms, and luminaire arms for the 9th Street and Cloud Street intersection improvements. City project number 112872 from Gady Sales Company Incorporated in the amount of $30,648. Item 6.9, authorize a memorandum of understanding between the Kansas Department of Revenue and the City of Salina, Kansas. And 6.10, authorize engagement of Alan G. Glendenning, attorney with Watkins Calcara Chartered, to provide legal services to the Human Relations Department staff and the Human Relations Commission in the employment discrimination complaint filed against the Saline County Board of Commissioners.
Is there anything a commissioner would like removed or amended from the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor, I would like to remove item 6.3 from the consent agenda.
Thank you. I was going to ask the same thing.
Well, stole your thunder.
So we have a second on that?
I have a second. Don't need one now.
Okay. Go ahead and move item 6.3 from the agenda.
Madam Mayor, I would move then that we approve the remaining consent agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda, removing 6.3. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? That motion carries 5-0.
6.3.
Okay. Go ahead and go to item 6.3. Is Ms. McDonald here? Oh, there she is.
Good afternoon. The Human Relations Department was formed in 1973. It's experienced many changes and growth over the years. When it first started out, it was mainly about filing complaints that were brought to the department. During the last few years, the department started collecting community information regarding options on civil rights matters, including but not limited to town hall meetings and potential LGBT ordinance on behalf of the City Commission. The City Commission directed the City Manager to hire a new position to encourage community engagement for all the departments of the city. That position will soon be housed in and supervised by our department. Human Relations Department regularly gets calls, walk-ins, and letters for the Human Resources Department. Closeness of our department names, as Commissioner Crawford well knows, is very confusing to the general public. So in order to better describe the activities of the department and to integrate the new positions of Community Engagement Coordinator, the department and the Human Relations Commission recommend changing the name from the Human Relations Department to Community Relations Department.
Do we have any questions for staff?
I have one question, and I'm not sure who is best prepared to answer this. I agree with the resolution. There was one sentence on the blue sheet that I had a question about, and that was right in the middle of it, where it says City Commission directed the city manager to hire a new position to encourage community engagement for all departments of the city. And in that sent up a little bit of a red flag for me, because I interpreted that to mean that the position of citizen engagement would be an inward, looking inward kind of position rather than a looking outward kind of position. And that concerned me a little bit, and I don't know if that may just be me reading it a certain way, but...
Yeah, I think the intent of that sentence is to say that that commission that will be looking outward to the community would be available as a participant for every department, as opposed to just for our, just because it's housed in our department, we wouldn't be the only people that would be using that position. It might be, Gary wants to do some outreach on plans he has for a grant, and so we would use that coordinator's position to assist other departments to do outward. But we agree, the point of that is to do outward community engagement.
Right. That was my concern. So, and of course, I think it's a very admirable thing, and I'm looking forward to seeing that process in place.
Commissioners, real quick, just to add to that too. Excuse me. When we look at the role of that function, there are a few kind of glaring roles. There's going to be a lot of little things we'll tweak and can do as time allows, but. For example, in your comprehensive plan, it does talk about establishing neighborhood relationships with neighborhoods, and that can be it's a lot of times a group discussion, physical discussion, and so forth. So that's obviously one role that this would play, is really helping us to try to finally do that. That's been a goal since really. Quite honestly, since the Neighborhood Services Division of what is now Development Services was formed, and it never has come to fruition, but now we believe we'll have the ability to actually do that. So that's a kind of a big thing. Mentioned before, taking advantage of social media and electronic communications, better integration of information with our web page and other technologies that may be out there. And this person would be expected to do that. It would also, and sort of as we talked about departments, it's sort of a hub. As they're out talking with folks, they can then be a good position to take information or questions and field them to the departments and make sure they get an answer back and help us track that better. And so I think that'll make us much more efficient creating that role. And then they really need to have a bit of a marketing flair, because when we looked at other communities, those that use all the tools out there typically don't get a very high response rate as a percentage of their population. And so our objective is to utilize some creative marketing sense to try to increase that, get people interested, because I mean the first act of engagement is to get someone interested and want to be engaged, and then after that it's about providing information, it's about asking questions, it's about giving them an opportunity to speak and work with others, and then hopefully at some point the ultimate goal is to give you good information that you can rely on that helps you with long-term decision making. So you put all those together, that's really what this position is all about. So we're pretty excited about it.
My goal in this whole process is to empower citizens, to make our government more responsive to and to give citizens more of an opportunity to participate as they choose. And one thing that really caught my attention was this last school bond election, where we didn't tell people when to vote. They decided when they wanted to vote, and then they did it. And we had a pretty high participation rate, and that spoke volumes to me. I'm in favor of having every election by mail-in ballot now. But I think that is one indication that people will participate if they have the opportunity to do it more or less when they would like to.
Do we have any other questions for staff?
I just had a couple of questions, and I think I already know the answer to those, but I wanted just to make sure that the Human Relations Commission the members are aware and are like this change, or are at least agreeable to the change, because I think you have a pretty strong commission. So I wanted to ask that question, and then the other thing is I wanted to be sure that the public knows that the issues that are brought before the Human Relations Commission by ordinance will still be taken care of. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. The name of the Human Relations Commission will not change. It's the department's name that will change. It will continue to work with them. At our last board meeting, we discussed this, and there was a unanimous vote to accept the idea of the name change for the department. So everybody is really in favor and excited about the name change. But the Human Relations Commission will continue to accept complaints and accept input from the public, as we've always done.
Okay, sounds good.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment on this matter? Seeing none, I'd bring it back to the commissioners.
Madam Mayor, I'd move that we adopt resolution number 14-7090, authorizing the name change of the Human Relations Department to the Community Relations Department.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. On to administration.
Item 7.1, Resolution Number 14-7096, authorizing the mayor to execute a construction manager at-risk agreement for the Salina Bicentennial Center renovations, project number 13-3014.
Mr. Lawson.
Thank you,
Young.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners. Item before you today for consideration, a resolution to enter into agreement with McCown Gordon for construction manager at risk services at the Bicentennial Center. Give you a little bit of background and history with it. We went out for an RFQ earlier this year, pretty extensive process, had a good, diverse team from multiple parties, went through a process we felt like really gave us a good look at what each of the firms have to offer. Ultimately, went with McCown Gordon as our recommendation, and from that point forward, we entered into, or you guys entered into, an agreement to provide short-term services so we could keep the process rolling. Basically, that's the pre-construction piece where we had the architect together with the construction manager, and we just kept the process rolling. For the last 60 days or so, we've been engaged in the pre-construction services of that and continuing to negotiate with McCown Gordon. A lot of good back and forth, a lot of good dialogue, a lot of discussions by both parties where we each had to give just a little bit in certain places to get where we ultimately wanted to be. But the contract before you covers a wide range of things that they will be responsible for, from constructability to, selection of subcontractors or partners in that, value engineering, submittal review, installation meetings, testings, inspection, quality control, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a pretty extensive list from front to back that they would be responsible for. Some things of note that are probably worth your attention, if you will. There is a $25,000 fee for the pre-construction phase. We had that factored in. That's part of the process, but just to bring that to your attention. Also, the GMP piece. As we put this all together, we will come back to you if this is approved with the GMP. The GMP is the final number, guaranteed maximum price that all of this will cost. We're operating now under a current set of parameters, but we would ultimately bring that back to you to say, okay, here's our final package from everything that we've put together. That would be the next step in this process. Other things of note, we have a retainage in there of 7.5%. That is monies that we will withhold pending satisfactory completion of the project. We have also looked at here the stipulated damages piece. Because there's a lot of events and different things that occur there, there'll be a secondary piece with that, and Aaron can speak on that a little bit more if you have specific questions. But the idea there is if we have events or certain things scheduled, we want to have some built-in protections to make sure those events can occur, and if they don't, that we have a little bit of protection to cover ourselves in the event that something like that were to happen. Let's see. I went through that pretty fast. Their fee is 3.5% is what the fee for the project is, so that fluctuates depending on what our budget ends up, our construction budget. And ultimately, we would recommend approving Resolution 147096, authorizing the mayor to sign the CMAR agreement. With that, I would open it up to questions. I also have Todd Knight from McCown Gordon here and Aaron Martin from Clark Mize and Linville to answer any questions in relation to the contract itself.
Do we have any questions for staff?
You had mentioned that the next step is the GMP.
Mm-hmm.
Are we waiting for the architects to complete their part? Is that what we're waiting for right now?
Correct. We're waiting to finalize the scope and have the drawings at a point with which we can go ahead and finalize that piece. I mean, they have been involved actively throughout to help structure the architectural pieces that we're doing, if you will, to make sure that those are fitting within a line. But yes, that's the next piece, is finalizing the drawings and getting those to a point that allow us to get to the GMP.
Okay, and then what is our normal percentage of retainage? Sorry.
I'd speculate 5% is probably what we had done in the past, but I would check to Jason if he recalls some.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Usually we'll also deal with liquidated damages. And one thing we really talked a lot about here, those are two tools that in the end sort of get you the same thing, but they do it a totally different way, and one's much more easy to deal with and one's much more difficult. The retainage is an amount we hold to the very end till the project's totally completed. And so when we're talking about 7.5%, which is a pretty good number when we look at this total contract. And what that does, that's an incentive to the contractor to get everything done correctly and on time. And remember, in this process, I don't want to water this down too much, but at some point here in the future, we'll be coming back with an owner's representative to also help us just ensure that the quality piece is there. So the retainage, we hold on to the end. As a contractor, you want to get that. That's your final piece of your payment, and that's a fairly significant amount still. And so you want to get done correctly. Liquidated damages is a little bit different because it's more of a penalty provision, and normally it's not a dollar amount that would typically have the impact of the retainage. So we said, quite honestly, liquidated damage, all we do is spend a lot of legal time trying to figure out all of our definitions and determine how many days and what for. Was it weather related? Was it this related? Was it waiting on us? Was it waiting on them? Was there something else? Which party did it? So we felt that the liquidated damages would be out of this, and we'd rely on the retainage to positively get there and try to get competitive bids. So in this case, we think 7.5% is a pretty good amount. It's not overly burdensome from a contracting perspective, but it's not on the low end either. And we did feel, especially with past project experience, that we needed to have more than 5%.
Thank you, Jason.
Is there, I'm not used to working with this guaranteed maximum price concept. Is there any incentive for the construction manager at risk to provide the project for less than the guaranteed maximum price?
Sure, because that would allow us to do more. I think the hope with that from their perspective is that if they come in, and I'm going to make this number up, $250,000 under what we had in the scope, we would reinvest that money back into some adults if we had them, for instance, arena handrails or something like that, if it might be. We would put it back into that, so there would still be the same percentage retention for them, if you will, or percentage that they would get from the project through that route.
Neon, could you talk just a little bit about the role of what we'll call the subcontractors in this?
Sure. How it works, and Todd can probably jump in here if I don't hit it well enough, but the subcontractor process for this, and we spent a lot of time trying to develop some criteria, trying to look at ways that we could really make sure we got the right folks to do the work. McCown, part of their process was really detailed in the way they went out and selected some subcontractors. There's a pre-qualification piece, and they have a lot of boxes, so to speak, that you have to check in the pre-qualification piece to even be eligible to bid for it. And things such as, have you done like type of work? Do you have the resource to do it within the time frame that's there? Are your references and what have you in good condition? So on and so forth. So we felt that part to be very, very valuable, because we've seen in the past sometimes maybe when it hasn't been successful, a project hasn't been successful, the performance of those subs are really critical in that. We wanted to make sure we did everything we could to build in pieces to get the best possible subs that we could, and McCown had a nice process in place. Part of the contract, too, we negotiated a piece in there because we do have some say in the contract, or in the subcontractors as well. We're a teammate of theirs throughout this, and it is collaborative.
A lot of people on the committee, and my hope is that there's really good communication among all those folks, because that's where the problems usually lie.
You're right, and I think the communication piece to date has been really encouraging because of where we started, and we've got all the players basically at the table, and you're seeing it from different lenses, from a construction lens to a design lens to an owner's lens, and you're getting different input from different ways. And I think ultimately that's what leads to the best, where we don't have it's not all this or all this or all this. It's a combination of the three different pieces, and I think that's led to a pretty good project to date where we're at.
If we're looking at mid-June construction start, are we still on that?
That's where we're at this point.
Okay. At what point then, I'm assuming that they're probably fairly close if they've got the 30 days for the design to be completed by the architect or their work. If they're pretty close on that, are we going to get a chance to see any of what's on there and see how it relates to kind of what our study session was and the good, better, best solutions?
Good question, Commissioners. Some of the items won't matter to you. For example, roof, HVAC, those are going to be more design related. But if it's your desire to, and it sounds like it would be, to see those things that are aesthetic in nature, to get an idea, and when we talk about good, better, best, there's no question before we accept a guaranteed maximum price, because that's a negotiated type thing where we say, well, hold on a second, yeah, that's the price, but we didn't get this or we didn't get that, and we're going to have to work that out. there's no question we will have built in there a time to come back and make sure that you're up to speed on exactly all those items, because it's your value judgments that in the end go into those. So without question, we'll have that built into the process.
Okay.
Real quick, too, I wanted to add back on the question of the of being under the guaranteed maximum price. One of the other aspects, Dion talked about the quality, and there's a lot of ways to try to make sure that quality's there. But once those contractors, those subs are pre-qualified, there's a competitive cost proposal process in there as well. So that's where you could very well possibly be under that amount. There's no guarantee, but that's in there. So it does create competition with the various project types in there.
I think another note to what Jason just said, too, that would be important for you to know is there could be multiple GMPs here, too. And what we're getting at here, if we don't have design to the point that we need it to for the whole package, there's several things that McCown has indicated are critical to going ahead and securing contractors before they get taken into other directions with the busy season coming on. For instance, roofing. They've talked about, hey, we really need to get out there and get a roofing contractor secured. Otherwise, the good ones get gobbled up and they're gone and not available, and you can't fit it into the time frame. So we could be looking at coming to you because the roof piece is pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of design that goes into the roof. We're basically just speccing the material, what we want, et cetera, and we could go do that. So that you may see something, too, where we would bring to you a GMP, a time or two, a couple different pieces with that, and start with chunks that we believe to be time sensitive, that we're wanting to leverage quality and wanting to leverage some of the available workforce.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
And all the little GMPs would be still under the grand GMP.
That's correct. It would start as a little GMP, but by the time we put the big package together, it would just be one, if you will. I mean, a total.
All right.
The grand poobah of the GMPs.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dion.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment on this matter? Seeing none, I'd bring it back to the commission.
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number 14-7096, authorizing the mayor to sign the attached CMAR agreement.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Item 7.2, resolution number 14-7087, amending section 2 of resolution number 13-6988, authorizing and providing for the construction of improvements for certain existing public buildings in the city of Salina and providing for the payment of costs therefor.
Mr. Franz, I was hoping I could say that one last time. Waited all day to say that.
You'll be Mr. Franz next week.
You have my permission.
Rhymes with cans, that is.
In December 2012, the City Commission authorized a detailed capital improvements plan for the Bicentennial Center, which incorporates a diverse set of improvements intended to extend the life and enhance the capacity and marketability competitiveness of the facility. In March of 2013, the project was authorized based on information known at the time at a maximum of $8,750,000. Some components of the project, arena lighting, sound elements, pest removal, were completed in 2013. However, the balance of the improvements were delayed, largely due to timing and scheduling factors. We did issue bonds for the first phase of the project in the amount of $1,010,000. And as of this time, $612,000 of those proceeds have been expended. Repayment of those bonds is currently scheduled from the Bond and Interest Fund beginning in 2014. And then, as you've heard just recently, we're in the process of going through the construction manager risk process, determining final maximum costs on the project and so on. It became apparent at the March 17th study session some project components, specifically roof repairs and HVAC, will need work beyond that originally anticipated. If done to the desired level of suitability, project authorization will need to be increased. Project budget, based on current estimates, is currently $10,100,000. with $9,488,000 allocated for the remaining components of the project. The resolution sets the maximum bond amount to be issued at $10,200,000. There's a small, call it a contingency as it were, in there to accommodate perhaps some changes as we get more detailed on the estimates. The repayment of those bonds is scheduled out of the special sales tax resources from 2015 to 2019, and after that time they would roll to the bond and interest fund resources. Based on our current long-term CIP projections, that should be possible without having a significant adverse effect on future levy rates. And I think at that point I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for staff?
Just to kind of clarify, and maybe just for, we had a study session on this a few weeks ago. Sorry about that. Just to clarify, we had a study session a few weeks ago that we kind of went over this in detail, but just for the people here in the public meeting that weren't privy to that, just to kind of clarify the difference between the 8.7 and the 10.2 or 10.1. Generally, if I remember correctly, a lot of that's due to a roof cost that's $900,000 now, with the original being roughly $40,000. So we've got $850,000 difference there. That's correct, and then the HVAC going from, what was it, 500,000 to 1.25? Was that?
Yeah, roughly. That's correct.
Okay, so
I don't know about the detail on those numbers, but I do know the difference is largely attributable to changes in the HVAC and the roof, portions of the project.
Yes.
And so those are predominantly, I just think to make it clear, those are two things that are extremely important that we really need to make sure we get right for basically the life cycle of this project. We'd want those to be in good working order.
Yeah, I agree. And Commissioners, with regards to the roof, the initial estimate was assuming there's certain components could be repaired at a fairly low cost, and that was a few years ago. And we did have a third party go up and did a very, very comprehensive analysis of the roof and provided a great report, and they recommended full replacement. So that's the difference in scope for the roof. It's truly a difference in what we do up there. And the HVAC is probably more comprehensive as well, because it also addresses, to a degree, the reducing or eliminating, I guess really getting out exhaust fumes, so that it opens up the variety of events we can have in there without as many disruptions related to exhaust. And so that'll be a nice thing for us to have if we want to have motorized events.
Any other questions for staff? Thank you. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I move that we pass resolution number 14-7087, amending the authorization for improvements at the Salina Bicentennial Center.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Okay. We have no development business today, so we'd move on to other business.
Item 9.1, comments from Mayor Shirley at the end of her mayoral term.
As everyone knows, today is my last day as mayor, and we'll be doing a reorganizational item coming right up. When I got elected a year ago, I wasn't expecting some, life plays funny tricks on us sometimes and throws some things our way that we don't expect. I had 2 job changes. I lost my son, and my dad was diagnosed with terminal cancer. I do want to thank each of my commissioners and my vice mayor for always stepping in and checking on me, emailing me, calling me. When I had to miss a meeting, Aaron was always, no problem, I'll fill in for you. I just want to say thank you to all you guys and city staff, as well as working with me this last year when I had no control of some issues that came upon me. So I think Aaron will do a good job, and I appreciate everything he's done, and like I said, my other commissioners and city staff as well. learned a lot this last year. I wish my police officers in our fire department, besides the one lady back there, were here, because I have had to call on them a few times this last month with both my son and my dad. And what a fantastic job our police department does, and how professional they've been, and the fire department and the paramedics. And I'm just blown away by how kind they've been over and over again responding. So with that said, I'll go ahead and move on to number 10 on our organizational meeting. And again, this thanking everybody for all their help and everything this last year.
Cool.
All right. I will now call the organizational meeting of April 21st, 2014 to order and call roll. Commissioner Blanchard.
Here.
Commissioner Crawford.
Here.
Commissioner Hardy.
Here.
Commissioner Householder.
Here.
Commissioner Shirley.
Here.
I will now accept nominations for mayor and chairman of the Board of Commissioners.
Madam Clerk, I would like to place in a nomination Vice Mayor Aaron Householder for mayor and chairman of the Board of Commissioners.
Second. Do I keep going with that? Do I still do that?
No, I'm good. No, I'm on it. Sorry.
Okay.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. I will now accept nominations for acting mayor and vice chairman of the Board of Commissioners.
Madam Mayor, I would like to place into nomination Commissioner John Blanchard as acting mayor and vice chairman of the Board of Commissioners.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, Aaron?
Okay.
Do this. You're going down front.
Oh, are we going down front? There we go. I'll put that up to the side. This was hers, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Do I go down front too? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, maybe she already had left there.
Just don't hit me with it.
Maybe, kind of. We have your gavel here for your smacking it down on the top of the table. You didn't use it too often. Only had to use it on me a couple of times. So and then, of course, your plaque in recognition of your service to the citizens of Salina from April 15, 2013 through April 21st, 2014. A plaque in recognition of that as well. Thank you very much. Yeah. That's right. Do we switch?
We have to switch now.
You stay seated, Commissioner Hardy.
Yeah.
He doesn't get a new chair.
We will now have comments from our newly elected mayor.
It's been good.
You like it? Yeah.
Are we moving chairs?
Yeah.
You get a warm chair.
Yeah.
I'm going this way, right?
I think so.
Oh, that's all right.
You get the kicking under the table.
That's all right.
Mayor.
There you go, Mr. Mayor.
She's still within swinging distance, though. Yeah. That's why I think that's why they move them right here, so they can, so she can still take over. Again, I want to thank the former mayor, Shirley. It feels weird saying that. It's kind of weird hearing you name as commissioner after a year.
It was.
Of hearing that go through. I would echo some of the comments she made earlier, just as our opening speech, just to kind of set the table and recognize city staff and all the employees. The one thing that I've discovered from coming on the commission 3 years ago was the excellent work that they do, their attention to detail. They're constantly I wouldn't. I'd like to say they constantly amaze us, but it's just their level of quality is so high that we're just kind of we're used to it kind of now. Unfortunately, that it's just so good. And of course, the fellow commissioners, they've really done a lot. This has really been a proactive commission. We've really looked into how programs and procedures and processes have have worked for the city in the past. We don't, it's definitely not a rubber stamp commission. We've tried to look at where all the dollars are going and trying to make sure that we're doing things the best way that they are. And in a lot of cases, previous commissions and the excellent city staff, they were doing things correctly. But there was a few things we found that we felt like could tweak and change. One thing about the commission and where I hope will continue is our view towards not just looking, I think it becomes easy when you're in city government sometimes to look at whatever item is in front of you on the agenda and say, okay, we're going to fix this street, or we're going to improve this small park, or we're going to do this. And one thing that I think that this commission is doing is really beginning to take more of a spherical or 360-degree angle, if you will, to how we look at things. We really want to look and make sure, are we putting residences and houses where there are existing schools, or are we, really, is what we're doing here on this street, is that going to enhance business, or are these things going to be the kind of improvements that are going to bring people to Salina, or make young people stay and enhance our community. Other things that we're looking at is we don't just look at budget cuts now. I know a lot of talk has been about redevelopment and reutilizing areas of our town, and that's really important to this commission. And one thing that we are thinking about isn't just saving tax dollars today, by reusing areas. It's making decisions like on our Iron Street project. That's going to affect people for the next 30 years on what we do, and are we making the best use of their tax dollars, not just today but tomorrow, and trying to rebuild our infrastructure. We haven't had any glamorous projects that I'm aware of up here. Anything that has I don't even know if we've got anything with a plaque yet with our name on. I'm still frustrated by that, But what we're doing is the bare bones. What we're doing is infrastructure. We're doing streets. We're reusing the Bicentennial Center, adding the position to the public awareness officer. I don't really know what other thing they have, whatever we called it today. Those are the kind of things that we want to get the community involved in what's happening. I really want to turn this, at least my term, if there's one thing that I can really achieve, that is to bring ownership to the community, from the community, and that is to take ownership in your government, to get involved, to take ownership in your community, to get involved. We had the volunteer program here a few weeks ago with several hundred people that came out. We need to be that to be citywide. We need the public to own where you live and become a part of what's happening here, and to get involved and to look at things differently. If you're a person that's never been to a sporting event, I'm not a big sports fan, but go to a Bombers game. If you're a sports fan and you're not into theater or something like that, go to a community theater event and see what your community has to offer. There really is so much going on here, and a lot more than I ever knew before I got involved in the city commission. So it really, I do encourage, and I hope that this year can be one where people really take a look at the city, take a look at what we're doing with the comprehensive plan, and understand that we're trying to follow that and really make a better community. But that's going to take the public involvement. 4 or 5 people get involved and can do it. We need everybody on board if we're really going to make it move forward. I look forward to serving as the mayor and hopefully making that a reality. And again, thank all my commissioners and former Mayor Shirley, and look forward to what the year brings. And on that, is there any other business?
We haven't been here long enough.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, we're a little early.
Congratulations to you and former Mayor Shirley, and I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We're adjourned.